Hello, my name is Kai, and I am a bit of a rambler. I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. And today, I'd like to ramble on just for a bit about all the dang fish I'm seeing here on Oahu on the different beaches. So, I got a tiny, super cheap underwater camera, and the pictures are certainly not professional level quality, but for $20 or whatever it was, I am extremely impressed with the quality of the pictures. And a little 8 gig SD card, and I can take hundreds of pictures on it with this little camera, and it auto does everything for me, so I don't have to do any focus or whatever. Yeah, it's working out pretty well. So I have seen way more fish. I didn't know how close the fish would be to shore, and the turtles. Yeah, there's so much sea life very close to the beaches on Oahu. Like, literally within a few feet, you'll be able to find tropical reef fish on the coral in all of these beaches around Oahu, on Lanikai and Waipahu and Ewa and all the beaches. Yeah, there's just fish everywhere here. There's fish around an island. So I just wanted to talk about some of the cooler ones I've seen and photographed, and if you're keen on seeing any of those photographs, certainly go check out the travel community on Lemmy, crazypeople.online/c/travel. That's right, it's updated. I made a new name. Oh yeah, I talked about that. Anyway, let's get to the fish, because they're pretty interesting. A very common one that looks like a ghost is called trumpet fish. And I've seen a few of them, and they're so long that it freaked me out when I saw one the first time, but I've seen a few of them now, and they're pretty chill. They're called trumpet fish because they have kind of a elongated seahorse head slapped onto the body of an eel, but the head is like a fifth of their length, so it's this big trumpety looking face. And they move real eel-like and slidey, slinky, and they can be gray and translucent. All of them are, actually, the ones that I've seen, except for the one today that was green, and it was really cool, because this was also the first one that didn't bolt away or try to escape immediately or shoot right by me. All the other gray ones just zoomed by me, and I only got a picture, and I was like, whoa, okay, good thing. I like, in my mind, I got a glimpse at them before they were gone. And they're already so difficult to see. So it's kind of crazy I've seen them at all, I guess, multiple times. I got a pair of goggles, and now I have this underwater camera. But that's all I have. Cost $30, maybe. I guess $40 with the SD card. And now that's it. And then I just go right off the shore, and there's all these fish everywhere. And turtles! Okay, so the trumpet fish is pretty cool. Looks like a little ghost eel, big seahorse head, big googly eyes, and it's just slinking around along the seafloor. I've seen most of them slinking along the seafloor. One flew in front of me, like at neck height. And the water on all these shores are pretty not tall, like less than 10 feet for hundreds of feet from the shoreline. It's still 10 feet or so from the surface of the water to the sand. So if you just go out a little bit in these beaches, after like 30 feet tops, you're already almost at the maximum depth for as far out as I have been. It obviously doesn't extend forever, but the sandy floor goes pretty far out there. What else is awesome besides trumpet fish? The turtles! There are so many turts rocking around the beaches here, and I didn't think I was going to see one. And then I saw like 8 in one place. And they are so majestic. And when you, and they don't seem to mind humans being close to them. You're not supposed to. I think it's 50 feet. Stay 50 feet away from green sea turtles and stay 150 feet away from monk seals. And that can be difficult because the waves are crashing all the time. And I've already had turtles swim straight past me. I'll be like, oh yeah, he's 50 feet away, and then they'll just zoom right around. They never look like they're moving quickly. It always looks like they're flapping in slow motion, but their movements are efficient and they move pretty far with each flap, and they're very graceful. It's so cool to watch them. They look so cool, especially up close. And I was floating around and one zoomed up right under me and spread his wings and didn't like move. And I had my arms out like his fins were, and we just kind of floated together for a while. And I was just like, oh my God, there's a turtle just hanging out with me. He must know I'm here. And he wasn't flapping anywhere. He was just had all four like fins out, like my limbs were out. And we both just floated as the waves moved us together up and down and forward and back, and just floated on in the ocean together. And it was one of the coolest experiences of my life. It was amazing. And in the, I don't know, few times, half dozen times I've gone out since then, I've seen more turtles, and I've seen groups of turtles, and I noticed that when the waves get rough, they kind of swim down under coral shelves and sort of take shelter while the water up is moving around. Because again, they don't flap very quickly, so while they can move far, if the water's really pushing them around, they'll be in some trouble. But when they do need to move, they can. I saw one just zoom down into one of these coral shelves, and I was wondering, like, well, how did they get under there when the water's going crazy? And then the water was going crazy, and this guy just sort of tucked in his fins and zoomed down and swooped into under a coral shelf, and that was awesome to see. So there will be a few of them floating around near me or swimming around feeding, and then I can look around and there's a few others under the coral shelves right off the beach. Not how far, 50 feet maybe from the sand. I've seen multiple turtles protecting themselves, sheltering under these coral shelves. So really close to the beach, way closer than I would have thought, are all these turts. And as you can expect, the more touristy areas, there's still a bunch of fish, but there are less fish in the touristy areas where there's tons of people on the beach than there are in the less touristy areas. So go to any beach, and if you get out onto the beach and there's a whole bunch of people and a bunch of people in the water, just walk down the beach until there's fewer people. Every beach I've been to pretty much has fewer people if you just walk away for half a mile or something. And then you'll have a stretch of beach. And if there are no coral reefs around or pieces of coral, you'll still see fish, but it'll be hard because they like to stay around the rocks and coral for shelter. You know, they don't want to be in the open area. But yeah, when you're around any coral, there are fish everywhere. There are so many. Haven't seen any sharks yet. Pretty happy about that. Apparently blacktip and whitetip sharks are very common in the islands, but I haven't seen any, and I bet it would be difficult to see them if they were right there. Other things that are difficult to see, octopi. I have not found one, and I've been looking, and they're supposed to be very common, and I believe they are, but you know, they're octopi, so they're super difficult to spot with their camouflage abilities. But I'm gonna keep looking. Maybe I'll see one before I gotta get to Indonesia. Oh yeah, I decided I'm going to Indonesia. Breaking news. Breaking news! Also, did you know Indonesia is like right next to Australia? Like the last island of Indonesia, the last main island, is an hour flight. Well, maybe 2 hours, but super close to Australia. Maybe it's not 2 hours. It might be just an hour flight. It's right next to Australia. So that was pretty interesting to find out. I always thought Australia was more isolated than that, but I'm not sure why, because I looked at the maps and I was shocked how close it was to some other islands. I didn't know how close it was to Southeast Asia. It's really close. And now it makes sense. All of those flight tickets I always saw whenever I was in Thailand or whatever, and I searched Explore Everywhere on Skyscanner, and it would always give me $160 to Australia. And that's why I went the first time, because it was so cheap. But I was always wondering why it was so cheap, because what I remembered is, Australia, the most isolated place on the planet, and there's nowhere to, Hawaii is like 3,000 miles, 5,000 miles from everything. That's pretty isolated. I mean, aside from the other islands, I guess. It's close to some other island chains. But Australia's couple hours from a couple different countries, from a few different countries. So it's not as isolated as I thought it was, which is very interesting to find out, considering I am a world traveler and I forgot what the world looked like. That struck me funny. Back to the turtles. What else is cool about them? I saw a baby turtle. It was swooping around with its family, and it seemed even more interested in humans than the rest of them did. The adults were like, that one hung out with me, but the rest of them sort of just go around and treat me as a piece of coral. But the young one sort of seemed like he was zooming around me and trying to like, ooh, what's the monkey in the water? And it was really fun watching him zip around. And you can see them from the shore even, the turtles. So you could spot them before you go in. Just look for like a brown, leathery looking back. A brown, leathery looking oval just bobbing on the surface. That is the shell of a turtle. And if you watch it for a while, you'll see its head come up. They pop their heads up to breathe every now and then. And I got some great shots of turtles. There's some up already in the Lemmy community, but more are definitely coming. And I recommend checking them out because, again, I can't believe how well my crappy little camera is taking these pictures. I really like how some of these turtles look. They look so cool. I'm going to post a turtle picture quite soon of one, and he's like veering right and turning around, but you can see the pattern on his skin, like that turtle pentagon hexagonal pattern on their fins and back. It looks great. Green sea turtles are very cool. They look wise, they look magical, they look serene and just chill as all heck. They are a very cool animal, and I feel so fortunate to see them in real life and swim with them and have them treat me so well. It's a different experience. I love being around nature. I, petted a tiger in a place in Thailand, something, I don't know. And I've seen anacondas in zoos and like stuff like that, but this was bizarre. This was different. It really felt like how I always talk about when I travel, get to a new country, I feel like I'm part of the world. That's how it felt swimming with the sea turtles. They saw me and they were like, yeah, you're part of this too, man. And then they just went about their day. And I got to sit on the ocean floor a couple times and just be with these pretty big honking sea turtles. I haven't talked about their size, but their shells can be longer than my torso pretty easily. Most of them are. They're like a good 3.5 feet long shells. They're big. These turtles get pretty big, and they're relaxed. So my brain doesn't even freak out. In the beginning, my brain was freaking out every time I saw a turtle. It was like, shark. And it was like, oh no, it's a turtle. Okay. That shape is a turtle. And I had to go through that many times, 20 times. But now my brain is just like oval turtle. Oval with fins, turtle. Thing popping out of the water like a diagonal periscope, turtle head. And brown patch of brown on the surface of the ocean, turtle back. Turd shell. So it's awesome seeing these things, and it's awesome to feel included in the ocean with them, which totally belongs to them. And I haven't gone too far out. I did go the farthest out I've been yet, which is 150, 250 feet. I went out pretty far today because the water was super calm and it was over my head, but it was maybe 15 feet deep. Yeah, 15 feet, I would say, at the deepest parts, and most of it was less than 10 feet, because it varies the seafloor as far out as I went. So I felt pretty comfortable going pretty far out, a few hundred feet. Although after I got out there, I did turn back, because today was bizarre. Today was, the sun was so strong today. I think there were less fish than I usually see, just because it was so bright that you could see everything. You could see for 50 feet into the distance underwater, and usually I can see like maybe half that at best on any normal sunny Hawaiian day. But when I was out there today, it was just so bright that everything felt different. It seemed like everyone in the ocean was tired and like kind of going a bit slower because it was so bright underwater. And there were fewer fish because they were just like, well, anything that wants to eat me can see me from like 100 feet away. Like, I see crappie under the water, but I'm sure sharks, or at least, well, sharks are smelling, but anyone with keen eye that has evolved to go underwater must be able to see as far as they can possibly see on days like this. The sun was wild. I'll have to post some pictures because I'm underwater. I'm like 10 feet down in the water, and even clear water stops sunlight very quickly. But 10 feet down, it is shining off of some of this sun-bleached coral, just like brilliantly glaring white. It was shocking. It was shocking how bright it was on the seafloor, 200 feet out from the shore. Or more. I don't know. I was pretty far out. I checked back a lot, and I had my goggles with me, and the current was very stable. But I will say, be careful, because different beaches have signs up that say, beware a riptide, which is, all of a sudden, you won't know. It's kind of like an underground river. So you don't know that there's this strong current there until you touch it. And once you touch it, it'll pull you from the regular water into the underwater river. And that'll pull you down and you'll drown. So I am not recommending people go out as far as I did. I went out just based on, I know how to swim. I felt comfortable in this water. It was not very deep, but at whatever it was, let's say 250 feet, I was like, this is pretty far. I'm going back in. Also, there were people surfing farther out than I was, like another 100 feet past where I was. There were some people surfing. So it's not like definitely you will die if you go out that far. It's just, I am no expert on ocean currents, and I'm no expert on riptides or anything. I wanted to swim with some turtles and fish. I got to, and I don't want to recommend anything I don't really know anything about. I can recommend all this travel stuff, medical tourism, healthcare abroad, getting jobs abroad, tickets for the next country, how to choose a country. I can recommend all that stuff because I'm very familiar with it and I've been living it. I don't know nothing about oceans, so I'm not telling everybody to go 300 feet offshore and expect to be fine, because it's the ocean. Anything can happen. And there could have been sharks where I was. I'm sure there were, and I just didn't see them. So be very careful. Do not take this as a recommendation to go that far out, especially if there are signs up. I would never do that if there were riptide signs up or anything like that. And if I couldn't see the bottom, there's no... Even if the bottom was a little bit deeper than it was, because it was only 10 feet... 15 at the absolute most, and that was not common. It was usually about 10 feet. I felt comfortable going out that far and swimming in very calm water. Other days, I didn't go out more than 100 feet because the water was busier. It was moving faster, and I'm a good swimmer, but I don't know how the ocean works again. So on every other day, I was like, well, nope, I'm going to go out just as far as I'm comfortable that I can definitely make it back. But everything is comfort, and be aware, stay safe. The ocean is bigger and stronger, and it's wild. It's wild. Even just being in 10 feet water and knowing I'm connected to the rest of all of the Pacific Ocean is crazy. It's crazy that just, yeah, I'm a couple 100 feet out, and then for thousands of miles in every direction, it's just a giant alien environment with super strong currents. So it's good to bear the power of the Pacific Ocean in mind when you're in those waters. Probably the Atlantic, when you're there too. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool experience. So I saw trumpetfish, which were very cool. I saw turtles, which were very cool. I saw the Moorish idol, which is this yellow fish, white and black stripes. I saw the state fish, Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua'a. Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua'a. The Hawaiian state fish apparently means fish with a snout like a pig, because it does have big lips. It does have a big mouth. White lips, and it has a blue stripe down in the middle of it, and then some black and white stripes. It looks very cool. These fish, they do look very cool. It's really interesting how they all developed morphologically. Is that what a pattern is? Morphologically is the shape. Aesthetically, I guess, they have very distinct patterns, like all of these different fish. Like one is just white with a black dot in the center. And I'm like, why? Because why is this Huma Huma Nuku Nuku look like that? And then you got just a dot. I don't know. I don't have the answer. It's just interesting to think about. And all of them look differently. The trumpetfish is mostly transparent / gray with like a slice of greenish down the side of it. And apparently they come in different colors. I think the one I saw today was greenish and mostly gray. But the other ones I saw were all gray. So there are different colors, but I want to see one of the like yellow ones or something crazy. I like their big starfish? Seahorse heads. Okay, what else did I see? No eels, which I was also thankful for because eels are crazy. What else? You know what? I'm not good at the names of the fish, but I remember one for sure. The unicorn fish, because it's named the unicorn fish because it has a big horn sticking out of its head. Now, it's not narwhal sized, but the biggest one I saw was about as big as my torso. It was much bigger than I expected any of these fish to be. And I freaked out when I saw him. It was as big as like the turtle's back, a turtle shell, but I could see it clearly it was a fish. And I was like, the only fish that big are sharks. Now that's not true at all, but that's what my brain, who was completely unfamiliar with fish and like seeing them underwater, thought. I was just like, that's gotta be a shark. And then I was like, well, it's giant and oval and it's, it doesn't have a fin, a shark fin. That's not a shark probably. And it wasn't, but I did notice it had a horn, and that's how I saw my first two giant unicorn fish. And I haven't seen any ones that big since, but I did see a few every time I go. They like to hang out near, they're more hidey than other fish. They're more skittish and sort of hide in the coral that I've seen. And I've seen a few more, but they've all been, I don't know, 1.5 feet, something like that. These first two, I don't know. A meter doesn't sound crazy to me. Like they were huge. But I didn't get a picture with them. But now I have the camera because I saw these underwater marvels. So maybe I'll get lucky in the next few days and capture one of these titans. The problem is, it's difficult to tell the size of anything underwater. Because you see, like the turtles I'm taking pictures of, you can see them next to a coral formation. And you're like, okay, I guess that's whatever. I guess that's a big turtle next to the coral formation. But it's really difficult to judge depth because the coral formation can be 5 feet apart or 5 feet wide and can look the exact same as one that is like 20, 30 feet wide if you're just from a different angle. So it's really difficult to see how large a lot of these animals are. But, I mean, apart from dogs and cats, these are the largest wildlife that I've been around, certainly since India, where cows could walk around. But just wild animals, I mean, yeah, they're fish and turtles. But it's just bizarre being around things, some nearly as big as me, so close to the shore. So I'm just like, if these guys are within 50 feet of the shore, what the heck is out there? And that's why I went like 200 whatever feet today. But I didn't see any bigger ones than those first two unicorn fish I saw. And I saw those easily within 50 feet of shore. They were real close. There was a pair of giant honkers over there. And then there were some swirls of fish and other stuff, and it felt different after I got 150 feet away from shore. It felt like things were a little more alive and things were a little more wild, but I didn't see anything. I feel like there must have been a bunch of octopi I wasn't seeing and other animals I wasn't recognizing, and it definitely felt like sharks could just be slipping in and out of all the coral out there or right beyond and sensing my electrical signals. But I didn't see any. Knock on wood that I don't. I don't need to see no sharks. Thank you very much. I like adventure, and I also like staying alive. Oh, there's needlefish. Wait, I still don't know if that's their name. I forgot to look them up. They look like tiny needles. They're like a foot long. Okay, I guess they look like big needles. But that's what they look like, just big needles in the water, and there's hundreds of them extending for 50 feet, 100 feet, just in these huge lines going back, like 3 or 4 thick, and then hundreds deep, shooting from 20 feet offshore, 100 feet back, just in this giant line, and I guess they're hunting together or something. I don't know, but I can see 4 or 5 of these crisscrossing needlefish congregation lines just in all directions. They're everywhere, and they're very tiny, and they get out of your way when you swim past them. But it's pretty wild to see that many fish. Again, it's just so many fish so close to shore, and they're all near the surface too, so there must be something they like that lives near the surface that's too tiny for me to see, that they hoover up with their mouths. But they always stay in that long formation, like they're all waiting to get to work. It's also amazing to see, because it's hundreds, probably thousands of organisms in these long lines, just going about their day while you're swimming around with them. Man, it is cool. I do like snorkeling, I guess. I'm not using a snorkel, I just use goggles, but is that called free diving? I'm free diving? I love it. I love free diving, and I love using this little underwater camera. I'm seriously considering taking it with me, even though it'll be maybe the most frivolous item in my rucksack. It seems sort of worth it to take it, since I'm going to go to Southeast Asia, and there are beaches all over everywhere there. I'll probably be there long enough to use it at least once more. And then I can get rid of it, and then I can give it to somebody else and pick one up the next year if I need another one, I guess. Yeah, so those little needlefish are really cool. There's a bunch of blackfish that like to stay in groups. There's a bunch of yellow fish with black stripes that I saw like 50 of them in a group today. That was pretty crazy. I couldn't take a picture of them, though. They were in 2 feet of water. They were in a very shallow water, maybe 3 feet of water at the deepest. And they were just flurrying around, like 50 of them in this huge group. And I took pictures, but today the sun was so crazy that the glare off of them just blinded my camera. Like anything under 5 feet of depth, I just couldn't get any picture because the sun was so insanely bright today. Yeah, but it has been great on Oahu. I'm going to keep going out and see if I can see any new fish or anything, particularly interesting. And I'll keep posting these photos. I got so many great photos of the green sea turtles, the unicorn fish. I just today, because the light was so bright, it was difficult for a lot of pictures. But for the needlefish, since they're near the surface, I finally got a good picture of one of their lines, one of their huge congregation tube tunnels going back into the ocean. So I'll be posting a picture of that, because I only think it's because the sun was so insane today that I was able to see them with relief. Usually they're just gray needle-like smudges in the gray, smudgy ocean. But I got a couple good pictures of them, so that's going up soon. All these pictures are going up. The fish look cool. If you get a chance, get to Hawaii. It is expensive to rent a place here, like $2,000 per month. But if you're traveling and you've ever really wanted to get to Hawaii, it's not bad. It's not a bad decision. You can do it. You can, splurge for a month and then go live for $200 a month the rest of the year. If you live $200 a month for 11 months out of the year and 1 year, or let's say $350 for your housing cost for most of the year, and 1 month of the year you spend $2,000 on an apartment in Hawaii, that's less than $100 extra bucks spread out per month over the rest of the year. So yeah, if you're traveling and living the normal $300 a month for rent, you can splurge if you really want to go. I will say I sort of prefer Southeast Asia and other beach destinations. The water is clearer, there are fewer tourists in a lot of places. Thailand, for instance, is huge, and they have so many islands. The Hawaiian Islands have a few islands you can go to, and there are a lot of people on the islands you can go to. So it's going to be much more difficult to find an isolated part of the beach on the Hawaiian Islands than if you were on any of the islands in Thailand, or even if you're on the Thailand mainland. Actually, except for Phuket, which is insane, and if you like beaches, Phuket's not the place. They have nice looking sunsets, but the waves are crazy, and you can't swim or snorkel in the places I know of Phuket. I'm sure there are better places that I don't know anything about, because as I have mentioned, not an ocean expert. It was great talking about this. I'm remembering what it felt like to kind of float above that turtle and then slowly flap away when I was done. Floating there, just being with a green sea turtle, who apparently was totally cool, spread-eagling, floating in the water with me. That feeling is very special, and I will carry that with me. To Indonesia. I don't think I'm near any ocean, or any beaches. I'm in Yogyakarta in Indonesia, which, yeah, not really next to the shore. The airport's next to the shore. Whatever. I know people like the idea of Hawaii, but if you're doing that for the wildlife and, like, not sun-bleached coral and pristine beaches, there are plenty of countries you can go to, and you can spend a lot less going to those countries. But everyone I meet who travels wants to go to Hawaii. It has that place in everybody's mind. So if you do want to go, it is possible you can splurge for 1 month. But if you're purely going for the wildlife and the beaches and all that kind of stuff, you can do that in plenty of other countries at a much more affordable price point for cleaner beaches and maybe calmer waters, calmer beaches, certainly less sun-bleached and damaged corals, and very cheap bungalows on the beach. I hope you are doing awesome. I'm doing pretty good. You can talk to me at bitofarambler@gmail.com or bitofarambler on Lemmy. Check out the community, post in it if you want to. That's awesome. Everybody should. I want it to be a fun travel community that everyone can talk in. I will talk to you soon, hopefully about more fish that I find. I'm hoping I find even more stuff. That's it. I just want to see more cool stuff. And if not, then I'll talk about probably Indonesia next, because I'm going there in a week-ish. I hope your day's going great. Talk to me if you want to. Have a great day, whatever you want.